What up, Wolves? Blademaster here, back with some more Total War Rome 2 online action after a while. There's been some terrible internet problems in my country. I don't know. I think no, it's only in my district. But they're like doing some construction work or something like that, and basically what that's done is it's shot the internet, to hell. And I think hopefully it'll clear up pretty soon. But anyways, this is the third match that I've fought against Flower Power in Attila the Great's tournament. So in the first one, I won with Cimmeria against Lusitani. The second one, he won as Pontus versus Galatia. And in the third one, I've taken Sparta and he has taken Rome. And it's going to be a pretty tough matchup. I mean, just judging from these two factions, you wouldn't think Sparta would be a good faction to counter against Rome. But so let's see. It should be quite the challenge if I do win this game. I've brought a total of 6 hoplites, Spartan hoplites as my front line. I've not gone with any pikes. I've also brought 2 Heroes of Sparta, including Heroes of Sparta General. I've gone super skirmish heavy. I've gone with 3 mercenary Cretan archers, a couple of Gorgo skirmishers, and finally 2 Perioikoi peltas on the extreme flanks. I've also gone with 4 total Tarentine cav. Let's take a look at what Flower Power has brought on the other hand. He's brought 3 auxiliary Syrian archers. He's brought a couple of Hastadi as his front line. He's brought 6 Evocati cohorts. So a very, very strong lineup. I think he's not put any experience chevrons. I thought he put experience chevrons on one of them for a second. But besides them, he's brought a total of 4 legionary cav and 1 auxiliary African elephant and 1 legatus general, or I don't know, general and bodyguard unit. So he's moving to the sides with his Syrian archers to counter my Tarentine cav. Judging by the two armies, I would absolutely give Flower Power the upper hand here, just because hoplites versus Evocati is not a fight that hoplites would win. It would all boil down to my Cretan archers, and he's got some cavalry to maybe engage them, and if he can, then he would probably win. The bringing the elephants was definitely a questionable choice, because they wouldn't do too much. Of course, if you can get them on a rear charge onto any type of unit, they will absolutely destroy them. But I have more than enough skirmishers, and as any Spartan army, I've brought a ton of skirmishers, so they are probably the biggest threat to elephants. And on top of that, elephants will most likely be fighting up against only spearmen. So definitely not some good targets for the elephants anyway. So kind of a waste of money there in my personal opinion, but let's see how well they do in this in the battle. I'm moving around with my Tarentine cav. I haven't gotten any kills with any of them yet. Maybe just a couple of kills, but I'm doing more. I'm just trying to waste all of his ammo more than anything. And this is the early stages of the battle, and my main line is really far away, so I'm going to try and whittle down some of his cavalry. And just maybe try and cause his army to spread out a bit more than he'd like. So that could be, I mean, in general, it's just a very advisable strategy to use your javelin cavalry to harass your opponent as much as possible before getting into the thick of it. I was about to charge into his auxiliary Syrian archers, but I pulled away because I knew he had legionary cavalry, which he very smartly put behind his archers just to support them. He's moved up with 2 of his legionary cavalry up in front. Possibly just a bit, distressed by my Tarentine cav always trying to shoot or getting in dangerous positions in his army. So he's decided to counter that by bringing 2 legionary cavalry onto my flank. Of course, I don't have any citizen cavalry to counter them, but I do have these Tarentine cav. I've chased after them, and now they're going to turn around and start giving chase to my Tarentine cav, which is exactly what I want. And yeah, they're going to turn back and they're going to try and get into the rear of my army. With the 2 other Tarentine cav, have moved far behind. They're not in any dangerous position at this point, but if he does decide to move with his or advance with his army, they are in pretty advantageous positions. So he's getting further and further into the rear of my line, and my Gorgo skirmishers and my Cretan archers, who would be pretty fundamental to my victory, are pretty vulnerable at this point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move ahead with them, and I'm just going to hit J with my hoplites, so that they'll all face his legionary cavalry who are behind my lines. So he's going to turn around with them, and when they do turn around, all they're going to be doing is just chasing after my Tarentine cav. I haven't issued any attack orders. Yeah, I have right now. But yeah, it's not like he's going to do too much. Even if he did catch my Perioikoi peltas there, they are very strong units in melee, so they wouldn't really die very quickly. Their low morale actually is kind of a concern, but besides that, they won't drop too quickly, especially legionary cav. But at the end of the day, he's not attacking them. He's going to chase after my Tarentine cav, which is not a very advisable move. These units are pretty tired. Yeah, they are tired at this point, but his legionary cav are winded as well, so it's not like he has a huge stamina advantage over me. and all the while they retreat, they're just going to shower these legionary cavalry with javelins, and you can see it's actually starting to take quite a toll on his cavalry. They aren't incredibly armored, they have 70 armor, which is quite good, but against javelins, there's only so much they can do. They're dropping so quickly to Tarentine Cav, and now what, he's moving up with his auxiliary Syrian archers, and they are in a pretty vulnerable position, but again, I still can't attack them, because, the legionary cavalry are very close by. He's kept 2 of his Syrian archers on the extreme flanks just to try and counter my Tarentine Cav, and now he's forced to move up ahead with his units. I'm also moving up with my main army, and his units, his Roman legionaries and his Avocari cohorts will not be with any auxiliary Syrian archer support, but he's actually moving up along with his main line, which is a smart move. He doesn't really need to worry too much about my Tarentine Cav, although if they do get into the rear of his line and like shoot some flaming javelins, his auxiliary African elephants are toast, because they would just run into the rear of his Avocari cohort. That would be the best case scenario for me, but I doubt that would happen. They are pretty well protected, and he's moving one auxiliary Syrian archer to the rear of his line. He's playing pretty defensively. That's a general theme that we've seen in this round, round 1. In all the 3 matches he's been playing, the first couple of matches he's always been playing a bit defensively, even though he's picked some offensive builds, especially with the Lusitani army, which has to be used very aggressively to win. So I've got 2 Tarentine Cav at the rear of his army. He's moving up with his army. They are pretty, they aren't very, they aren't kept in one line. They're kind of in staggered lines, and this is going to give me, an opportunity to just shower his auxiliary Syrian archers with, archer fire. I'm going to turn around, move back with my main line, and I'm just going to, keep harassing his legionary cavalry. Look, there, he's got all 4 of his cav behind, and that's exactly where I want them to be, because that means they wouldn't be able to attack my archers. And meanwhile, I've attacked with my Tarentine Cav on his auxiliary Syrian archers, just taking advantage of a small gap that he had in his line. And they've already dropped to like 64 men. I'm just going to pull through, get to the rest of his auxiliary Syrian archers. The second one is basically down. They haven't lost any units, but they are going to go down very quickly. And meanwhile, the rest of my Tarentine Cav, I haven't really microed with them, but they do have great armor. I mean, 60 armor is actually pretty shit, but they're better than, having no armor. And now I'm going to attack his 3rd Syrian archer, and they're basically done. So he's got 1 Syrian archer that has 115 men left. His Hastadi have engaged with my Spartan hoplites, and I'm going to immediately charge with that 1 Tarentine Cav onto their rear. It wasn't a great charge, but it's going to give enough of a morale penalty for these units to maybe, rout very quickly. His auxiliary African elephants are to my right flank, which is not really a good position for them, because I have Perioica Peltas here. I've got a Heroes of Sparta as well. My Spartan hoplite should be able to last for a really long time here, and my Tarentine Cav is starting to drop, but his Hastadi are wavering with 115 men left. My Tarentine Cav here is just mopping up the rest of his auxiliary Syrian archers. The one over there has got 26 kills on his archer unit, although he's got into my archer line with his legionary Cav, and this is not really good, not good news for me. His Avocari cohorts are going to chase after my Perioica Peltas. Meanwhile, my Heroes of Sparta are going to try and chase off after his legionary Cav. Definitely not looking in my favor here. His Avocari cohorts are going to charge my Spartan hoplites. I'm going to countercharge with them. And then here's where my advantage in having a big line plays. And this is something that I touched upon in Scalp Hunter's video. Having one huge line actually makes it much easier for you to start flanking much quicker in the game. I'm going to charge into his Syrian archers, his last Syrian archers with my Tarentine Cav, and just kill them off. His other Syrian archer is depleted, and they're far, they're really far away from the battlefield, so they can't really make much of a difference. His African elephants have run amok because I've got my 4th Tarentine Cav just showering them with javelins. So again, it's not really a good usage of them, or just not a good idea bringing them. He got into my Perioica Peltas with his Avocari cohorts, but now they're going to get charged at by African elephants, and then they're going to get they're going to have to deal with Heroes of Sparta, some of the best spear units in the game. But my archer line is starting to die. Here, though, it's actually going a lot in my favor. These Gorgo skirmishers have got 43 kills on Avocari cohorts so far. Just goes to show that having slingers on the flanks is really a huge bonus for you. They are very, very good, and their armor piercing really makes a huge difference if you can put them on the flanks. Definitely not a unit that I would keep right behind your main line, because they are much more deadly when they're used on the flanks. His Avocadi cohorts have only 54 men left, basically crushed by his own elephants. My Spartan hoplites are getting depleted, but they're going to last for a long time against Avocadi cohorts. Meanwhile, the advantage in my numbers is showing here. I've rear-charged this Avocadi cohort. His legionary cavalry have got a lot of kills though. But they are going to get showered with rocks by those Gorgo skirmishers, who have done quite a good job so far. I've got one Heroes of Sparta here, which I haven't microed with at all, but with the rest of my units, I've charged into his Legatus General, and that's not a fight that he wants to get into. My Tarantine Cav have attacked his auxiliary Syrian archers, who are getting pretty depleted. My other Gorgo skirmishers is done. I've got two Perioca Peltas here, one which basically destroyed his African elephants. My Heroes of Sparta have dropped by a couple of men, but his Avocadi cohorts is done. This Spartan hoplite is the one unit that I need to be concerned about, because they're the only unit that doesn't have any support nearby. This one is also being charged by Avocadi cohorts, but for the rest, this Avocadi cohort should die pretty quickly. It's being sandwiched by hoplites, and they're getting flank shots by Gorgo skirmishers. And I've got this one Perioca Peltas here, which should do a pretty good job against his legionary cavalry if I decide to attack. No. Okay, I'm getting flank shots onto his Avocadi or rear shots onto his Avocadi cohorts, so they're going to die very quickly. But here, his Legatus General is charging into my Perioca Peltas. Not a good move, I would say, because bam, they should... Oh, wow, they didn't even get many javelin volleys. No, there we go. They did get one pretty decisive javelin volley there. And what it's going to do is it's going to tie down his Legatus General. And he's issued Warcry on my Gorgo skirmishers before charging into them, which is a smart move because they have very poor morale in general. And with Warcry, they have only 16 morale. But that charge was just so bad. That was a very poor charge because his general was already depleted. I'm going to charge a second time onto his Avocadi just to completely destroy them. At this point, it doesn't really look like it could go in either one's favor. It's looking very, very, very even at this point. My Spartan hoplites here, if they get rear charged by by this legionary cavalry, that could be the difference maker in this game, because once my center crumbles, then it's going to be pretty hard for me to regain control over this battle. His general is starting to die. I think they've died. No, steady exhaustion. It would have said if the general recently fled or died. So I don't think his general has died. Here I'm getting rear shots with my Tarantine Cav. I've just done a brilliant job in this game so far. Spartan hoplites are on hoplite flanks, so they'll last for a long time. And again, I've charged in with my second Spartan hoplite here, just sandwiching his Avocadi cohorts. It just goes down, it goes to prove that the Spartan hoplite phalanx is just, so strong. They won't get many kills. These Spartan hoplites have actually done a really good job, but they haven't gotten too many kills in general. But they've just, managed to hold out for so long. These Avocadis are going to get rear charged by Tarantine Cav, and what that's going to do is some of them are going to attack his general, who only have like 11 men left. So hopefully, along with attacking, along with these spears providing support, this general should probably die very quickly. And if he does, this Avocadi, which has already been attacked in the rear, should start wavering and routing, like we can see here. So yeah, his general is starting to waver. This morale shock could prove to be quite fatal for Flower Power's hopes in this tournament. Yeah, 9. Actually, this Legatus General is lasting for quite a while. Yeah, but that Avocadi is done because I charged in with the second unit of Tarantine Cav. That morale shock was a bit too much. And that's the end of the game, you guys, it looks like, because these Avocadis are just, they haven't done too much, and his general has died. And meanwhile, these Gorgo skirmishers are just showering them with rocks. And that's the end of this. Yeah, is it? No, we have still one Hastati, which is wavering. But yeah, that's the end of this battle, guys. End of the third match. So I've won the, I think this is the round of 16, I'm not sure. But good games to Flower Power, and better luck next time, dude. Pretty unfortunate that he lost, considering that he got into my skirmish line without too much trouble. But I got into his skirmish line, on the other hand, without too much trouble either. My Tarantine Cav just did brilliantly. 97, 168, 133. And I attacked his auxiliary African elephants really early on, and got some javelin volleys onto them, and they crushed one of his Avocadi cohorts, which was pretty instrumental, because otherwise my Heroes of Sparta would have been, tied down for a really long time. One of my Gorgo skirmishers did brilliantly, the one that was on the flank, just shooting at the flanks of those Avocadis. So yeah, I think maybe putting slingers onto the flanks and using them in that way could be a good use of these guys, but I just don't think that slingers have a huge role in this game at this point. Perioca Pelta is doing brilliantly too. did a very specialized role in killing off his legatus and some of his cavalry, I think. And in general, my Spartan hoplites basically won me this battle. Look at, I mean, they hardly took any casualties, like 80, 70, and then 180, 93, 101, 105 kills with all of them. And, some of them are still at full green. I mean, they probably lost like 10 or 20 men. One of them was pretty depleted, but I don't think any of them routed. So definitely a very, very good unit to bring in general, and just an excellent spear unit. Anyways, guys, that's the end of this battle. Hope you enjoyed it and stay tuned for more. Peace.